The introduction of a pay-per-mile tax in the United Kingdom marks one of the most significant changes to road taxation in decades, a shift that will gradually reshape the financial realities of owning and driving a car. What's been announced is more than a routine budget measure. It represents a structural transformation in how the government raises revenue from road users at a time when the economy is under pressure. The transition to electric vehicles is accelerating, and traditional fuel-based taxation is rapidly eroding. As more drivers switch to electric and hybrid vehicles, the current system, heavily reliant on fuel duty, becomes increasingly unsustainable. This is the environment in which the new pay-per-mile framework has emerged, and it is why many analysts believe it will have consequences far beyond the EV market alone. Fuel duty has long been a cornerstone of Britain's public finances. In 2024-25, it raised £24.4 billion, contributing to essential government spending. But electric vehicles, which do not pay fuel duty, are quickly reducing those revenues. The Treasury has made clear that allowing this decline to continue unchecked would create a fiscal gap worth billions each year. According to the Office for Budget Responsibility, fuel duty receipts are projected to fall to around £12 billion in the coming years as EV adoption rises, roughly half of today's levels. By 2030, 1 in 5 motorists is expected to pay no fuel duty at all. The decision to introduce the tax from April 2028 means that drivers now have a clear timeline for one of the biggest transitions in modern transport policy. Under the new system, fully electric vehicles will be charged at 3p per mile, while plug-in hybrids will pay 1.5p per mile, reflecting the fact that hybrid drivers will continue contributing some fuel duty when using petrol. The OBR estimates that an electric vehicle driver travelling the UK average of 8,500 miles per year can expect to pay roughly £255 in 2028-29, around half the amount petrol and diesel drivers currently pay in fuel duty through pump prices. However, while the headline figures appear modest, the true impact of the scheme becomes clearer when considering its long-term implications. Electric vehicle sales have been rising rapidly, particularly in London, which already has more than 235,000 registered EVs, a figure expected to reach around 500,000 by the time the new tax begins in 2028. This means that the transition to pay per mile will immediately affect hundreds of thousands of households, with millions more to follow as electric vehicles become the default choice ahead of the 2030 ban on new petrol and diesel car sales. Despite the scale of the change, the government has been keen to stress what the new system will not involve. Pay per mile will not include GPS tracking, location reporting, or onboard surveillance devices, addressing widespread concerns about privacy and state monitoring. Instead, drivers will estimate their annual mileage up front when paying vehicle excise duty, which will be incorporated into a new combined system known as EVED. At the end of each year, mileage will be verified through the standard MOT process or, for newer vehicles, via registration anniversary checks. If a driver overestimates their mileage, they will receive a refund. If they underestimate, the shortfall will be added to their next VED bill. The system relies on existing processes rather than introducing new infrastructure, which is intended to minimise disruption while integrating the new tax into familiar administrative routines. Yet the introduction of EVED raises questions that extend beyond administrative simplicity. Because the tax is linked directly to mileage, the government has acknowledged the increased risk of odometer tampering, known as clocking. An estimated 2.3% of UK vehicles already show signs of mileage irregularities, and experts warn that tying tax liabilities to mileage could increase this figure. This has consequences for the used car market as well. When a vehicle is sold, its prepaid mileage or mileage deficit will transfer to the new owner, meaning that EVED status will likely influence the price of second-hand cars. Buyers may begin scrutinising vehicle records more closely, while sellers may find that their tax decisions affect future resale value. In effect, mileage becomes a financial asset or a liability. The public reaction to the new policy has been mixed, and in some cases, deeply emotional. For instance, Stephen Walton, 46, works for a mental health charity in Crewe. He bought an electric car for his wife in July 2023 because she wanted to do what's right by the environment. He said he was now finding owning an EV just doesn't make financial sense given the higher purchase price and more rapid depreciation levels, adding that a pay-per-mile tax will literally be the final straw. "It's just a nightmare," he said. "I've paid more to do the right thing and I'm being penalised for it. This will be my first and last electric vehicle because there are no fiscal perks to being an EV car driver." Delvin Lane, chief executive of Instavolt, which develops and installs chargers, said the tax could discourage people from switching to electric cars. He said that drivers without home chargers were already paying more in tax for public charging, and rural and low-income drivers would be disproportionately affected. "We urge the government to work closely with the charging and automotive sectors to co-design a fair, future-proof system that maintains incentives to switch to zero-emission vehicles while ensuring sustainable road taxation." Edmund King, president of the AA, said, "The budget has put drivers at a fork in the road, with the Chancellor announcing major tax proposals for EV owners. Drivers fully understand that the government needs to get the balance right between raising cash for road investment whilst ensuring it doesn't slow down the transition to electric cars in order to meet environmental targets." The OBR said the new charge was likely to reduce demand for electric cars as it increases their lifetime cost. To meet the mandate, manufacturers would therefore need to respond through lowering prices or reducing sales of non-EV vehicles, it added. Overall, the charge is forecast to result in about 440,000 fewer electric car sales, though other government policies could help offset around 130,000 of these. Because of this drop in sales and slightly lower driving distances, the total money raised by the charge could be 200 million less by 2030-2031. The OBR also notes that the overall revenue impact of EVED is uncertain because it depends heavily on the speed of EV adoption, consumer behaviour and economic conditions between now and 2030. Politically, the timing and manner in which the pay-per-mile system was revealed has contributed to controversy. Details of the scheme appeared before the Chancellor's budget speech due to an accidental release of the OBR's economic forecasts, an incident described as a serious error by the watchdog. The early leak intensified scrutiny of the budget, highlighting what many commentators are calling one of the most chaotic lead-ups to a fiscal event in recent memory. Unlike previous periods marked by global crises such as the 2008 financial crash or the 2020 pandemic, the current turbulence is occurring in relatively stable global conditions. This has raised broader questions about the government's ability to provide clarity and stability at a time when economic confidence is already fragile. Understanding how much motorists will pay under the new system requires a straightforward breakdown. For electric vehicle drivers, the cost is 3p per mile, rising annually with inflation. Plug-in hybrid drivers will pay 1.5p per mile. Petrol and diesel drivers will not be directly affected by EVED, but fuel duty will return to annual RPI-linked increases from September next year, ending more than a decade of freezes. That means higher pump prices in the coming years, further tightening households' budgets across the country. An important feature of the system is liability. The pay-per-mile charge will apply to the registered keeper of the vehicle, not necessarily the primary driver. This means that parents lending cars to children, companies providing vehicles to employees, and households sharing cars must be aware that the keeper bears full responsibility for EVED payments and any outstanding mileage debt. When a car is sold, its EVED history, including any prepaid mileage or mileage deficits, transfers with it. Buyers will be able to see this information through DVLA records, and the government expects this to influence prices in the second-hand market. Vehicles with prepaid mileage may sell at a premium, while those with outstanding deficits may face reduced value or require negotiation. The consequences of the pay-per-mile system extend far beyond electric vehicle owners. Even drivers of petrol and diesel cars who are unaffected in the short term should recognise the broader implications. As the UK approaches the 2030 phase-out of a new petrol and diesel sales, a mileage-based system will likely become the dominant form of road taxation for all motorists. Today's changes represent the first phase of that transformation. The government has not formally stated that EVED will expand to all vehicles, but the logic is clear. When most cars are electric, charging per mile becomes the primary method of ensuring consistent revenue. In the wider context of Britain's long-term transport and fiscal strategy, the pay-per-mile tax reflects the beginning of a structural shift. It attempts to balance environmental goals with economic sustainability to preserve fairness between different types of drivers and to secure revenue that has historically been taken for granted. But the transition will not be simple. It risks reducing EV adoption, altering consumer behaviour, impacting rural and low-income households, increasing the risk of odometer fraud, and introducing new complexities into the used car market. What is clear is that this policy marks a turning point. It redefines how Britain pays for its roads, how motorists calculate the cost of travel, and how future budgets will manage the gradual disappearance of fuel duty. Whether the system succeeds will depend on careful implementation, transparent communication, and the government's ability to reassure drivers that the new framework is fair, manageable, and economically justified. What is certain, however, is that this is only the beginning and its impact will be felt by everyone.